what if we've got depression all wrong? What if we've missed part of its origin story? What if we all created it together? Are we to blame for the most significant epidemic of our time? What if the black dog is society? What if depression is simply the terrible pain of being isolated? What if depression is the lonely disease? Welcome. Most societies have lanes, just like a highway. There's a fast lane for the places to be types, the middle lane for the everyday Jane, the slow lane for the anxious and cautious, and the hard shoulder for those left behind. If you've ever broken down, it's a unique feeling being stuck on the side of the road, watching the rest of the world pass you by at speed. You're unable to get closer to the traffic because of the simple dangers of putting yourself out there. You are stuck waiting for someone to come along and help. Having a mental health issue is like being stuck on the side of the road constantly. You exist in a bubble where you are seen, but at the same time not seen. As people speed past, they understand you're in need, but they have little desire to stop. Places to be, after all. Now, I could continue with this metaphor, but I want that feeling of being left behind to really sink in for a moment. Feel it, experience it, appreciate what it would be like. Now imagine never being rescued. No AAA, no RAC, just the side of the road. Always. Depression is one of the loneliest, most torturous ailments there is, and its presence can be felt across a wide spectrum of mental health issues. A deep pain that forces you to pull over, making you watch as the rest of society zips by. A constant reminder that you've failed. If you're not in the groove, you're out of the groove. And if you're out of the groove, the record of what your life could be never plays. You never get to point B on your journey. But why is this? Why, despite the ever-growing number of conversations about mental health and depression, does nothing ever seem to change? Why do people keep driving past each other? It makes you wonder, are we actually having the right conversation? For more on this, and to delve in further, it's time to talk. The discussion of stigma and mental health too often centres around the simple unfairness of it being so misrepresented and misunderstood. And when the conversation does turn to the impact such stigmas have on sufferers, as well-intentioned as that is, it only really goes skin deep. Sure, it's upsetting to be treated differently by other people, but it's how such societal isolation fuels depression that we should really be talking about. Because of the deeply personal nature of depression, it's already very difficult to discuss. And on top of that sits age-old prejudices, plus a society unwilling to listen. Modern-day stigmas also serve to exasperate the situation even further, effectively creating these prisons of loneliness within our own society, with no clear means of escape. Depression and other mental health issues thrive on isolation. The black dog feeds off despair. So when we talk about the stigma surrounding mental health issues, we're also talking about one of its primary causes. A family not knowing how to help, a workplace ill-equipped to support, and a world too ignorant to care. It's about time we address a hard truth. We are all the problem, at the very least, unwittingly exasperating people's illness, and in many cases, actually causing it. Think of a child having lost a parent, struggling to process this loss. With appropriate support, the child has a good chance of recovery, at least to the point where their suffering doesn't spiral. But if they don't have any support structure or avenues for help, they will descend into long-term pain. And if the child isn't provided with that support, it is of course considered neglect. Depression is no different. If it's appropriately managed, further spiraling can be avoided. But if it's left to grow, which our society promotes, you simply get an ever-burgeoning number of people descending into long-term anguish. The loss of a parent need not ruin a child's life, nor should depression anyone else's. Until we accept that social isolation is more than just an unfairness imposed on sufferers, but more a deeply disturbing catalyst for the condition itself, we won't stand a chance of truly helping people. The number of souls suffering from depression should be considered a barometer for the health of a society, whether it successfully nurtures or ultimately destroys. Take a good long look at yours and ask yourself, is it helping these problems or compounding them? I know what I think. There is a question that we should all start asking each other. Is the society we live in true to itself? You could argue that the most harmonious countries in the world have achieved such by simply refusing to deny their problems, by shining a light on their dark corners, and by having hard but honest conversations about a path forward. In many ways, the recent global pandemic has unmercifully highlighted the false integrity of some of our most powerful nations and unions. The tragic calamity of millions needlessly dying because of misinformation, conspiracy theories, and a basic distrust of science all could have been minimized if those societies had been healthier and more true. A society that demonizes drug users will never be able to properly address its drug crisis. A society that starts a culture war over face masks was always going to suffer tragic losses. And a society where depression and mental health issues are so terribly misunderstood will never be able to offer the type of support people need, and will just continue to exacerbate things with unhelpful practices and largely absent countermeasures. Countermeasures that, if put in place, would ensure supportive actions by a society and not destructive ones. So what do we do? How do we fix this? The first step, believe it or not, is to address the lonely part of the lonely disease. If you are a sufferer, you have an obligation to yourself to step out into the light. Drag yourself out of that dark corner. Crawl across the floor. Pull yourself out with your bare nails if you have to. But move, crawl, walk, run towards the sun. You don't need to know what to do when you get there. You don't need to have a plan. Just go, and go now. For everyone else, if you know someone who is suffering, you must step into their darkness with an open hand, without fear and without hesitation, and pull these beautiful people out. Whether that means just standing there, holding a torch until the person is strong enough, or by providing friendship, warmth, and an essential connection to the rest of society, bringing supplies, directions home, and most importantly, open arms. But whatever you do, just be there. Be your society's ambassador. Be a lifeline. Be the connection that brings love and warmth to the darkest corners of our world. And then the cure will come with each person's salvation, not through the absence of pain, but through the presence of love, through the eye of understanding, and with the absence of loneliness. A circle of backs becomes a circle of faces. The feeling of being left behind becomes the joy of being seen. And as the darkness begins to erode and the dampness dries, society heals, it grows, it ascends, and everyone benefits, everyone improves, everyone gets healthy. For once, A leads to B, not Z. But what about education? What about funding? What about stopping big pharma from being the controlling interest in treatment practices? What about legislation to curtail discrimination against sufferers in the workplace? Well, sure, but this isn't about making people wear a seatbelt. It's about getting people to stop speeding. This isn't about stopping the lake from freezing up. It's about getting people not to walk across it. This isn't about red versus blue. It's about truth versus fiction. This isn't about making a vaccine. It's about wearing a mask. If we all just worked together to bring everyone in from the cold, we wouldn't need better treatment practices for depression, because most of the work would have already been done collectively. It's only the lonely disease if you let it be. The weeds only grow if you let them, if we all let them. If you see someone has fallen overboard, you throw them a life raft and you stop the ship. It's not complicated. It's not hard. We just have to choose to do it. So choose. There is more to come on this. But until then, stay safe. Be the change we need. And remember, you are not alone. even though this is the lonely disease.